Hello, welcome to another 15 plus 10 video. Today, a game not from the pool, but from a server I'm in, but from a challenge from someone in a server I'm in. We've played a couple times before, and no, H3 is new. And the last two times, my opponent played G3, and I had something ready there. Sadly, okay, H3 I score pretty badly against. Could go for E65 or just G6 or E5. Been thinking about doing G6 more lately, so I think I'll go with that. Not so sure though. How does it go? E5? Knight D2 H5, I think? I'll just try for the dragon setup. In a Yugoslavi kind of way, that makes sense. I might start with knight c6 and came at an earlier d5. I don't think there is a rush in getting castled quickly. And with the bishop blocked off from here, I think there's no danger in this. In a more usual Najdorf with the pawn on e5, then the knight probably belongs here, but in this case, I think this makes more sense. b7, bishop h6 immediately is something to consider. I could do a swap and bishop e6. Queen c7 seems somewhat interesting, but it does give up d5, which I'm not so happy about. I do wonder about d5 immediately. D5 takes e5, getting rid of this knight. And then knight d7, f4. Probably the inclusion of h3 has helped white more than has helped me, which is, well, slightly annoying. Although, I feel like the way of playing with h5 is maybe a bit more interesting in this case. The danger is with setups where white plays just putting the rooks to the center and playing knight d5, and then the e pawn becomes a bit vulnerable. With a bit. Yeah. No, my time is getting a bit low. I could try for bishop d7, d5. It's a bit suspicious seeming. It seems fun. So let me think. Maybe h5, maybe bishop d7. Bishop d7, of course, is always there, but it doesn't feel... But then again, if you play h4, h5, it's a bit slower, right? think I'll play bishop d7 just to see if white commits to g4 along castling, and then I'll decide on which of these to go for. Okay. White playing quite fast, as is typical. I think now I wanted to go for b5. Let me just check. b5 takes, e5 is not dangerous because it's covered enough. e5 is now very silly because I've just blocked that. b5 and some number of sacrifices on b5. I think I'm fine, just because this is now defended. So b5, a3, and I'll probably have to actually finish my development. Knight e5 is funny. Knight e5, c8, queen a5. It's a bit suspicious. Somewhat interesting though. Maybe white will play f4 instead. That is a bit of a concern. Queen e5, king b1. You best stop with rook c8. Maybe start with b5 just to stop. Although I shouldn't take those too seriously. I think b5 with the threat of b4. So, okay, stop. Quickly do a blunder check. b5 takes, e5 is not a problem. In fact, it's helpful. b5, e5, just take it. b5, f4 is scary, I guess, but I'm fine, I think. Yeah, f4 is probably the biggest concern. b5, f4, b4. Okay, so I can start with b5, I think. Then if a3, then f4 is what I'm most worried about at the moment. Maybe I start with knight e5 and then do the whole exchange on c4 thing. It's a bit artificial feeling, so I'm not quite happy with that. I suppose I could vaguely hope for the whole bishop h6 trick thing, but I don't think that will happen. So I think white does have to react to this in some way. Defending this e pawn or playing a3. I mean, f3, I guess, is possible. And arguably, white can just try to go back into a dragon, just playing h3, h4. g4 doesn't do anything that I can see. f3. F3 b4. I'm probably happy. Yeah. I feel like white probably is going to include king b1 at some point. Knight d5 is actually somewhat on turn, but this does hit the queen, should be okay. But something like trade, knight e5, knight takes, bishop is scary, you know? I'm just lucky this is on the queen. It'd be nice to play e6 to knight d5, but then d6 is weak. Problem with the dragon structure. Okay, so suppose like the simplest move being a3. Like I don't think I want to push for b4. It's a bit too much time wasted. So maybe bishop g7. Bishop g7, bishop h6. But then I can drag the queen away from d2, so that feels wrong to me. Again, I can go for h5, but that's less appealing now than it was. Well, this seems perfectly fine again. Yeah. The whole rook here, knight e5, is a bit trickier. 53, I would be relatively happy because e5 is, well, if not achievable, like, you can imagine it being achieved. And again, knight e5, knight c4, I don't need to tempo there. Or white is another tempo. If I do want to play bishop g7, it's a question of if it's worth trying to lure the bishop to e5 first. Probably not. E5 is just absurd. I'm not gonna have time to play the necessary breaks. What is the standard idea on e3? Probably just b4 at some point. My lack of just usual development is somewhat hurting, but I think my position is sound. Like in a classical Sicilian, you often get the, was it knight c6, bishop e5, e6, f4, and then quite an early a6, b5, but then you have to play bishop d7 because of the knight thing here, like I could. Like, this isn't a particularly scary Yugoslav. At least it isn't at the moment. It's hard for me to say exactly how it's going to develop. I mean, even immediately h4 and h5 is not so pleasant. My opponent appears to be away at the moment. Hopefully they're not having serious internet issues. Okay, so supposing a3 bishop d7, and then most reasonable just looks bishop e6. Like, you're the queen away. What do I have? Force the rook to here, which is, to be fair, an awkward square. But then what? My odd-looking moves feel like they're just compounding. If bishop d3, I guess with the idea to meet b4 with knight d5. That's actually kind of concerning. I think maybe then I go for knight e5, knight c4. And then it's hard for white to move this knight and then also threaten bishop e3, bishop e6. Oops. Bishop does really belong in this diagonal. So, of bishop d3 and a3, probably a3 is more worrying. So suppose a3, h5, let's say. And then, although, what's the main problem with h5 then, I guess? Bishop e2, trying to play g4. I mean, surely not. I feel like my position is quite healthy. Well, I do recall the main line of the engine at least, after g6, being going for g4, bishop g2. G4, bishop g2. And then d5 is... there's a terrible example with d5. Which in fairness, but white does control d5 better than I do at this point. Maybe this. Trade, bishop c6, but then f3. It feels too slow. Knight e5, f4 is a problem. So I'll probably only ever do that after bishop d3. Like f4 and then e5. It's very scary. This knight doesn't... it's really out of squares. Put my bishop here. You could get away with some surprising things with like this configuration, but it seems unhealthy. What happened to my opponent? Let me just check on Discord if my opponent seems to be the one flagging instead of me being the flagger. Good, they're back. Okay, I asked my opponent if they would like me to give them time, but they decided against. Yeah, can be one. I wasn't sure what the idea on b4 here was though. b4? Like that was the hope of b5, right? b4, knight e5, knight takes this, b4, knight takes this, pawn takes here, knight takes here, pawn takes here, knight escapes. Okay, so b4 takes, then knight e5 is controlled again. But bishop e3, bishop b6, sorry. What about trading the knights first and then b4? It doesn't make a difference, maybe? Okay, so b4, trade of the knights, knight e5, knight takes e4, queen can attack this with tempo. I can take the knight, which is fine. I think this is good for me. I guess one note is that maybe white goes after this pawn on b4 instead. Although that's scary to me. Okay. I think bishop c6 is what made sense here. But takes, knight away. Is there any way of tracking this knight? Actually, a5 is it's a bit close. a5, the problem is bishop e5 check though. It's awfully close. I'd get e4 is hanging though. See, takes. Knight escapes, knight take on e4. Maybe even a5. a5 just... a5 bishop c6. I'm just trapping the knight, right? a5. Okay, so take the knight, take the queen, take the Oh, that's very silly of me to miss. On the other hand, not at all scary. I think bishop g7 on castling is not so easy to meet. And if I could queen c8, where does... I mean, white at least has to take on the unfortunate pawn structure. And queen c8. Not any difference with this, I don't think. Okay, that move is trickier, but what if I just play knight e4? Oh, e6? Maybe. If I take... Take... I mean, structurally, I think I'm doing well. Knight e4, e6... No, this isn't under attack. So knight e4, queen d4? Yeah, though. And e6, f6. Not seeing it. Knight e4... Okay. Queen takes as e6. Bishop g7, there's probably a queen here. Seems actually... Bishop g7 seems reasonable though. Bishop g7, knight takes e7. Yeah, I don't like that. Bishop takes... I suppose d6? No, I take with knight. And if e6... Surely I just play f6. Okay, my time is getting too low. I can't play knight takes d6 because of queen takes. Okay, so I suppose knight f6, cover this 3 times, for the 4th time. Knight takes d6. It is hard to castle. The one advantage is I am up a piece now. Yeah. If I could force a queen trade off, I would be very happy. If I can't, well... Queen f5 comes to mind. Queen f5, because I really would like to play e5. Queen f5, bishop takes f6, pawn takes f6. Not doesn't. There is the incredibly funny idea of trying to castle long. Doesn't seem correct. Oh dear, my time. Think this. To play rook d8. Not pleasant. Of course, something like bishop c4 is just. Oh dear. Not good. Yeah. Queen takes. Back a pawn. I should not have done that. Oh dear. Yeah. It's unfortunate. Why was knight d5 good here? Knight d5, knight takes c4. Just retreat the queen? Why? Go bishop d7, takes, bishop e6, okay, yeah. Queen here. Takes, bishop e6. Okay, so this whole operation with playing b5, b4 wasn't really sound, but I think it was okay. So what's the difference with queen c7, e5, e4, e4, takes e6. It's with tempo now, so I'm not sure why. It's pinned. Yeah. Not at all obvious to me, but unpinning is quite tricky. Okay, so knight e4, queen e4, bishop takes e6. So okay, f6. f6 seems awful. What am I trying to do? f6. Trying to play knight takes d6 just because, yeah. Maintain the knight on e4 because it's doing things. You never castle though. Sheesh. Okay, bishop g7, just taking here. And try to force a yeah. That does make sense. You try to take, okay, so you try to rook c4, you take, h6. So, yeah. Yeah, I just couldn't find a move and then, yeah. Oh, queen, oops. Okay. Good game.